But students always used to make fun of no. Students always used to make fun of condoms. And I went around meeting and other people simply saying, this is a serious business. You guys need to check yourself. Of course, after this, abstinence is an issue to be discussed. This thing went on and tore apart our country. As it
Just to interrupt the challenge. During our orientation, okay, the first SEO was breast cancer. One student against charity here, fixed and so on. The children is continuing health. Chairman is saying, you see, you come to UK where the little problem, suicide. And he said the receiving in the scheme, no, very distribution. So the vice chancellor is warning students against sex. Ochieno is distributing condom.
no, since you were
The Red Ribbon campaign partnership, it's been captured as one of the partners.
yeah.
And Rotary. And as you know, this is a reminder against about being cautious with HIV.
Yeah.
So basically, that's the message that it's promoting.
And allow me to
Awareness.
to conclude this.
Yeah.
The issue about condoms is still very important. It's not necessarily that we give you condoms you can spread and whatever. It is simply that wake up to the reality that HIV/AIDS exists. In any case, anyway, perhaps we might be giving you condoms to make sure that you use with your appropriate, legally bona fide partner when you are taking responsibility in these things. The point is this anyway, that HIV/AIDS is real. We're beginning to take it for granted. And Oscar, because of the new advance in medicine and technology, people no longer see people, quote, who are sick. And so therefore they think it's business as usual. It's not. And particularly for the younger people, no, we need to take it much more seriously.
Yeah. Was it included in the census, by the way? Was there any information on HIV?
No, I don't remember.
Numbers?
There was quite a lot of information, but I don't remember. It would have possibly have struck me.
Yeah.
But out there,
We will check.
so young Ugandans, particularly, and all responsible citizens, wake up. This thing's real. Capital, you guys do a fantastic job.
Okay.
On behalf of Capital,
Is a national, and as we said, capture is also part of the campaign. So, Honorable Semuju, what is it you are doing to annoy General Salim?
This week.
One of our topics.
This week.
Yes.
I have done Oscar nothing. You see, we had genocide. I love you later. We had
You are now one of us he has sent a note to.
But you remember your role in this, Oscar.
No, I had no role.
You were the one who called me and you said Moses Biaranga is looking for you.
That was looking.
That was your role. So I look for. Yes. So Oscar called me and he said Moses Biaranga is looking for you.
He was looking for you.
Since Moses is our brother, I got in touch with Moses. And Moses told me that he has a document. He actually called it a document from General Sare. And Sare has never given me a document when I was working at the Observer. His argument then was that Intandikwa had worked and actually a lot of money had been recovered, but government technocrats were lying that it was not enough. So I spoke to him before he resigned. I am actually the one who wrote the story that Sare is set to resign. And he called me through Juma Seiko to tell me that actually Intandikwa had worked. And he sent me a detailed document to show that money had been recovered. Since then, we've never spoken. So you told me to call Biaranga. I called Biaranga. Biaranga sent me what he called a document was a notebook. A notebook.
A silent note. He has been writing.
A sleeping note.
With a good handwriting.
Started warning me that he will take me to court if I stop tarnishing his name.
Right. Have you been tarnishing his name?
I was on TV and BS on Tuesday. And I used the NAD as an illustration to get people to understand why Museveni is attacking UCDA every day, something he has not done. And I said that for Saleh and his group to go and take over NADS, Museveni launched a campaign. Every day he was attacking NADS, how they are doing nothing, parading officials from NADS, threatening to take them to jail. The conclusion of that relentless attack against NADS was the creation of Operation Wealth Creation, headed by General Saleh. And that Operation Wealth Creation, the thing that I said that may have annoyed Saleh, and I am happy they did, was that, yeah, was that.
And you are happy they did.
Yes. Was that as soon as Operation, because you see, Oscar, the public may not know, Museveni created Operation Wealth Creation under what he called a standing order procedure. Standing order procedures. That is the something he created as a legal basis for Saleh's outfit. And then he authorized them to go and use NAD's money to do distribution, including ambiguous things like a strategic intervention, that there will be money for them for strategic intervention. And these are written things. I'll share with you after the Capital Gang the documents you may have forgotten. So I said that the first activity, as soon as Saleh's Operation Wealth Creation was created and went into NAD, and NAD remained as secretariat, but they created codes within the budget. I don't have to read them. Under agricultural output and strategic intervention, and they are putting money coded, as I have said, for Saleh and his group to direct where it should go. The first activity, and you remember I told Saleh when he appeared on this show, was that he removed 97 billion shilling, and this is captured in the report of the Auditor General, to buy pickups. And I said on the TV program that the first activity of creating wealth by Saleh was to buy pickups using 97 billion shilling to distribute to veterans, army commanders who were disgruntled. That, by the way, was the time of Amama Mbabazi. And Museveni feared that Mbabazi was teaming up with Tinyefuza and they were meeting veterans of Ruwero. You know, Museveni will not fear Ochieno. For the moment, he's told that commanders of Ruwero, a specific unit, are angry, they are teaming up with Mbabazi. That's why his harassment of Besigye is unequal. Because Besigye kept saying that I have support in the military. So the operation of Saleh, first wealth creation activity, remove of 97 billion shilling to buy pickups. That's what I said on the and that's what annoyed him. But it's not my information. It is information of the Auditor General that as soon as they arrived, this is what they did. And Saleh says, no, because I did not touch money, I was not the procurement officer. But they created the codes and NADs. I'll share with everybody who wants to know. And those codes were controlling by Saleh. Because the NADs is a National Agricultural Advisory, National Agricultural Advisory Services. Their work was not to buy pickups and then hire drivers, then maintenance cost, then this and that. So that's what Saleh must understand, that he's already been audited by the Auditor General. That information is before Parliament. And it will remain forever, whether Saleh is there, whether Semuju is there. Those who are going to read the reports of the Auditor General will know that as soon as Saleh arrived there, the first thing. But I know what annoyed him, Oscar. What annoyed him is that his brother, Yoweri Museveni Kaguta Tibuhaburwa, has launched an attack against UCDA. And throughout, he says, he praises Saleh that the coffee boom that you see is as a result of intervention by Operation Wealth Creation created by the 2014. So he now attributes the success in the coffee sector to Saleh. The same thing, by the way, Museveni tactically did with the Ruwero. If you read Museveni's book, all the successes in Ruwero are successes headed by Saleh. You know when Saleh went to Masindi, you know when Saleh went to Hoima, you know when Saleh went here.
So you're saying that there's something wrong with that?
There is absolutely. You need to read the Pecos Kutesa's book. One of the biggest success.
Museveni's book.
No, Pecos Kutesa is dead. Kutesa says When they attacked Masindi, where they got a lot of arms, actually including robbing banks, Saleh was the overall commander, but he was warning them against the attack because Museveni had said you attack before down. But they arrived almost at down. And then Museveni called Saleh, who was hiding in a hill far away from the battlefield, that please they should not attack. Saleh calls Pecos Kutesa, who was now the field commander, and he said, Muzei has said we don't attack. And Pecos said, you see, where we are positioned, we cannot withdraw, we'll be finished. He said, okay, you will take responsibility. This is what Pecos writes. You will take risk. So the person who took responsibility for attacking, so what eventually was the success. In his book, Museveni writes about Saleh and what Saleh
Well, they
did.
talked about it, but they have you gotten yourself a good lawyer? Because it looks like you have not stopped.
Oscar, I can tell you Saleh cannot go to court because he has no name to protect. And it will be an opportunity. I will thank God if Saleh ever steps in a court. And we go back to the days when he was receiving bribes, when he was in northern Uganda.
So OWC,
When his 3-year-old son was operating an aircraft going to Congo, where we accused and actually lost a case.
let me stop
We are
there,
paying Congo
let me,
$200 million US
let me
as a
stop
result
you
of
there so
Saleh's
we don't-
intervention. So
so
I am
it
saying,
doesn't take you.
you will thank God if Saleh steps in a court
Yeah.
and all these things of
Anyway.
what he did in Congo comes and we bring
But Lydia is a lawyer here. If he takes you to
Yes,
court,
yes.
I
on-
don't need a lawyer. This is an obvious case.
but he's going to take you to court on one specific item. You will not
Yes.
be able to squeeze in all the
No, if it is defamation,
Yeah.
maybe they can, I don't know if criminal,
defamation.
if
will
criminal
be about
defamation
this.
still exists, they can use
But let
the
me
state.
tell you what OWC has said. OWC was wish to address and clarify as following.
Clarify what?
Concern a video circulating on social media in which Honorable Semo Junganda, in an interview with a local television station, makes statements regarding the procurement of vehicles for OWC. His presentation was a false statement and ill-informed, aimed at discrediting OWC and defaming its chief coordinator, General Saleh. Goes in about how it was established, number one. Two, the vehicles deployed for OWC operations, both at the Secretariat and nationwide, were procured by NATS in strict accordance with PPDA guidelines within a transparent public finance framework. The process followed Uganda's established regulatory frameworks and legal standards, reflecting our commitment to public accountability. General Salim Saleh was never involved in procurement, nor was he ever a supplier. Those interested in all NAT suppliers are encouraged to check the PPDA database, which he was telling you to do. Accordingly to Honorable Semoju's misinformation, the total procurement cost is 97 billion, which is a total misinformation because the procurement records, according to NAT, is 28 billion. And that information is available to the public. This expenditure was necessary and justified to support field officers who have been instrumental in distributing agricultural inputs to beneficiaries and supporting communities nationwide in efficient and effective manner. Claims of inflated costs are unfounded and lack factual basis and are meant to confuse the public.
You mean that thing is still exists?
Therefore, I skipped a few more. Therefore, statements by Honorable Semuju suggesting that OWC was established for personal finance gained by General Saleh are both untrue and baseless. OWC was created to transform the agricultural sector. That's a statement sent by one of our regular listeners.
It is not by, because I was wondering if they are still existing. First of all, they were illegally created and they shouldn't never have been there even for 1 second.
Well, okay. So hopefully, we hope you will not go to court with some of you.
No, I am praying, Oscar. Please don't pray. I want to go to court with Saleh.
Anyway,
yes.
Lydia, I want us to go to Kisoro. Some of you have said, and we hope General Saleh doesn't take him to court or does not write him another note. Whenever he writes notes to people, people keep quiet. He has written a few notes.
Why?
But on another show,
This will last a bit long.
Yeah, no, they usually are short like that. So, Lydia, congratulations on a Kisoro win.
The double win.
Well, I don't know if it's a double win, but yesterday I was in the company of Norbert Mao, chairman, and he said NRM was beaten thoroughly by in Kisoro, and a lot of people wondered, what do you mean NRM was beaten thoroughly? So I'm here to say congratulations to you, Lydia.
Why didn't DP fill the candidate? Because he's a president general. Why does he talk about NRM when he serves as a cabinet minister?
So you mean we should not speak about NRM?
I mean, you first of all begin with yourself. Why do you want to celebrate our losses when you participate in our game? We are in government, you are there. When we lose, you don't cry with us. What type of person is that one?
There were two
Oscar,
commentators.
I have
The
just come,
exchequer is now
Really, I did
NRM.
not hear the question.
I'm also asking. I'm surprised that we have such many beings in Uganda.
So whereas we were congratulating,
I've come from Kisoro,
Yeah, we saw you on TV.
and the NLM flag bearer, whom I went to support, lost. She was number 2. The elections,
so which means
she,
does that mean Mao had a point that the NRM flag bearer was beaten and
I don't know about Mao. Maybe we will agree to if you want to talk about Mao, let him come to the show and
okay, let me talk about
Kisoro and NRM.
in Kisoro.
And
Was the NRM beaten?
yes, the NRM party lost. I'm telling you, what you want to hear. We had a NRM primary where 8 candidates participated, and the flag bearer was Honorable Rose Kabageni. And after the primaries and the nomination by the Electoral Commission, I traveled to Kisoro to campaign for the flag bearer. And when we got there were other candidates. I think actually UPC had a candidate.
A fantastic candidate, yes.
NUP had a candidate, and FDC had a candidate. Very nice ladies. I even particularly, I was in the audience during the TV talk. They put up a good show and a good debate. The NRM candidate whom I went to support lost. I comforted her. I said, Rose, you know, when you come for a campaign, there is a win or there is a loss, so we lost. And the one who won, Akifeza, Grace Ngabirano, she was independent. She had a radio. So the radio lady won. And we have
Radio as a symbol.
congratulated. I congratulated Rose. And that's it. But for me, I support having party who have been delivered to us through the process. That's the structure of the party and the process of the party. We put in our best foot, we win, we celebrate. When we lose, we reorganize ourselves and look at the next steps. So I want to also take this opportunity again to congratulate member-elect Rosie Atiteza Ngabirano, the lady of the radio. She was independent. Good campaign. When I go to the ground, there were children, school children. When they are going home, they were singing Akifeza. I found that very intriguing. Everywhere in the town, in the community. What caught me first were the children. I later got to know that she has been working a lot with children, but also even her work in UNHCR. She was a UN staff, but she was dealing with children. And I think that's where her passion is. It was so visible. So I don't know what else you want to tell me, Oscar, but that's what happened in Kisoro.
Well, some people were disgruntled that the president had also invited when he went to campaign, as he usually does for candidates. There was a bit of disgruntlement that
he campaigned for both.
Yes, campaigning for the one who's not NRM.
I was in Kisoro myself, so I have first-hand information. The president did not openly campaign on the forum where he was.
No, you have used the right word, so don't.
For the independent, he campaigned for the flag bearer. But what happened, which people may feel uncomfortable, that's what the Museveni that we should know by now. The first thing the president did when he arrived in Kisoro, even before, he said that he made a call twice. He talked twice to Mzee Mateke. You all know Philemon Mateke is not a new name in Uganda, but I think when you're entering Kisoro, he's the president of Kisoro. He's a very respected person in Kisoro, and for your information, he's the chairman of the NRM of Kisoro district. But he was not happy. Maybe I should say this to the listeners. He was not satisfied or not happy with the outcome of the primaries. And those of you who have been following our party, I realize that many people follow the NRM party more than their own party, like how your
But
preamble messages were. So the primaries, yeah.
Yeah.
But you should also remind that you are about your own party.
We were not only supporting UPC, but we were made to sing UPC songs in primary schools because they are the party.
Okay. I
These
take it.
channels were forcing us to sing.
Forgive me. So the issue I wanted to raise is that Mzee Mateke is the chairman of the NRM of Soro district, but we all know that he's been a minister and a member of parliament and LC5 in this government, and a very senior leader, national, but also particularly the Bafumbira community. So when the president came to Kisoro, despite the big divide in the community, because Mzee Mateke came out clearly not to support the flag bearer, but he gave his reasons. And you give it to him. He gave his reasons.
What were the reasons?
He was. I've said he was not satisfied with the outcome of the NRM primaries. I've just said that. You didn't listen. You listen. So he took a decision not to support the flag bearer, and that was a very big a big loss for the NRM Fatende, because it's a strong pillar in the community. But when the president came to Kisoro, he had that brief, and I talked twice, I think, on phone. He told us, I've talked to Mzee, before he came, I talked to Mzee Mateke on phone twice. This was the opening remarks on the rally. They talked on phone twice, and then when he came, he went home. Of course, to see him, to his home, he was at home, but also to commemorate, if you saw in the pictures, to pay his respects to the late Sarah Mateke's resting place. And then he came with him to the rally. And also they also came with the independent candidate, Grace Akifeza. Ngabina, she also came for the rally. So the campaign, the issue in Kisoro was that the independent that contested said she was aggrieved that the outcome of the primaries did not reflect our fairness, but that she was still NRM. So we still have that contradiction if you've been following. To say we have a flag bearer, but you have a very strong-willed people who say, no, I was cheated. So we need to go back to the drawing board. But we could not stop the calendar of the campaign. So we went into the mud, and the outcome you all know. So the president came to, one, to campaign for the flag bearer, but two, to find a way of saying, I hear you. They are grieved because we are one family. And he gave them a chance to be heard. I mean, Mzee Mateke spoke at the rally. He got up at the rally and he had a chance to speak, and he addressed the crowd. And even Akifeza was there. She was welcomed. Those who had considered as independents were there. They went and met the president, and then they also took pictures with the president. In our campaigns as NRM, sometimes we have like 4-3 things to deal with. The actual campaign, dealing with conflict resolution, and dealing with grievances, because now they were saying we want to give you a seat, you've not given us the industrial park. So we are dealing with the government service delivery, you are dealing with the broken fairness in the primaries. You must also deliver a candidate, and we could not run away. We went through it until yesterday when I drove back, after meeting women and all this, because that's the role we have to do as leaders. We have challenges, we have work to do. We have a manifesto and field pledges in Kisoro. All those played to the gallery. But at the end of the day, I want to say, Oscar, I saw Wandera, I think, on my phone in the night when I was traveling, talking about the military and the audios that were on social media, saying there was vote rigging and the military and I don't know what. I want to say it on record. One of the most peaceful by-elections, because I've attended all. whether it is Dokolo or Yam or Serere, I've been to all. Even now, I'm coming from Kisoro. Kisoro was extremely peaceful, except
And
for one or two
I'll explain
incidents.
why.
It was so peaceful for reasons that are clear. This election was very competitive, in terms of closeness. So there's no place where there was a dominant place. Secondly,
But the final result was
even the
telling.
candidates, and let me give credit to the candidates. The candidates were very respectful of each other. In a way, they also managed their crowds and their campaign, because sometimes we get overwhelmed by their campaign teams. The campaign teams, you're doing this, they're doing other things, they're being rowdy. So
Really, what candidates you do?
in Kisoro, and I think we should give credit to these candidates of the woman MP for Kisoro by election. They were very organized. Wandera, the audio you show us on the social media that you saw was brought to our attention. It was in Masindi in 2021.
Hoima.
It was in Hoima. It wasn't in Kisoro. So sometimes experts like you should take off time and go back and look at the
That was
recording.
Nyakato's election.
Yeah, that was Nyakato. So when you go on radio to enforce it on TV, then you lose credibility, because you should be up-notch with the right information.
It was debunked quickly.
So I was a bit disturbed that you were able to talk about that. So I'm coming from Kisoro. One, the takeaway, a very peaceful election. The second, very good and credible candidates. The third, NRM, we have work to do. We've come back with homework. But most important, I think, for my reading, NRM is still very strong in Kisoro. There is no doubt about that. Leave alone the results. The community is happy. They only demand what's due to them. There is a lot of manifesto, unfinished projects. And then, of course, Oscar, because it borders two international borders, DRC and then Rwanda. The Rwanda border was closed, Chanika, for some time. It has opened. There's still life. There's life there going on, but they're a bit conscious. They're not feared like they used to be. Now, Bunagana has been released. The third year, Bunagana is closed. So you find the restaurants that look like they were abandoned. You find the lodges. The biggest infrastructure there are lodges. People cross borders to have fun, play Lingala music and all that, Congolese music. The place looks abandoned, and the community there, they feel that their business, the business has come down, their livelihood has now changed. So Bunagana is really quiet, and you see from their faces, they want governments to talk to each other, and they open the Bunagana border. Yes.
Derek is here, and you're most welcome to gang Derek Wandera.
But just a small second for Derek to know and the others is that yes, the NRM flag bearer lost, and therefore I came back with a loss, but also with hope, because Akifeza Grace Ngabirano, who was the independent, participated in the NRM primaries. She's the NRM. And she met us and she promised to come. That thing you hear that's not illegal, that's NRM leaning. She's purely NRM. I think we need just reorganize us so that the right people get the flags
By the NRM
the
constitution now, she's not.
So she's now coming to work with the NRM party, and definitely
Isn't she suspended?
supporting.
For standing as a suspended.
No, she's not suspended, because
By their
we
constitution,
appreciate.
if you campaign
This
against
is-
NRM,
So
by
I
the
thought
NRM
that I should make
constitution,
that clear, so that people who meet Oscar in the corridors and they celebrate the loss of NRM, tell them that they should wait a bit.
No, I did. I did that for you.
Yeah.
But this, you don't talk about independence, and the good thing is Lydia is here. And sometimes I fear talk about the independence when Lydia is not here. She personally, she knows about them. And Derek is here already. Lydia has given him a flock for posting fake video. But the issue of independence and NRM party, you the journalist, practicing journalist, it is a sore issue. And even just before the election, some people in the NRM were saying, why would the president come with an independent to a rally to support an NRM person? And this has happened before. Not the president coming, but it has happened before, where an independent stands against an NRM flag bearer, and the independent has won. Isn't this the third or fourth independent winning?
where? They are
It
about
happened.
70
They're about
They-
70 in parliament.
70
I
in
mean,
parliament.
it is.
You're counting 3. This is
70 NRM independence.
I think majority are. Maybe
Yes.
they are about
Majority
5
they
opposition.
don't win the primary, but they go back
Go
because
ahead.
they are
Mm.
grieved,
6 of them
and
must
then
be
they win,
NRM.
and but then they come back and say they are
Yeah.
leaning, which is also it's politics really.
Thank you, Oscar. I wanted to respond to what Honorable Wanyoto
There's
has.
nothing to respond. Just say
Why
yes, it
would
was
you
Masindi.
respond?
Yeah, of course, it
Nothing
was
to
Masindi.
respond.
I got to know about it. Like I got to verify
Masindi
after
was-
the comments I had.
It was in Hoima.
Hoima, yes.
I had made. That was a Hoima video during the
Derek
national
Wandera, leave that one.
I have left it.
Yes.
About the peace.
About independence.
About independence.
Standing against NRM flag bearers and the disgruntlement. Because this has happened to Lydia herself and she wasn't happy.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to constrain myself to comment on just particularly Kisoro, but maybe widen the conversation to what we've seen before. Like Honorable Semuju has put it, there are over 60 independent NRM leaning
Who had actually
MPs
participated in
who
NRM
had
primary.
participated.
Yeah.
Most of them participated in NRM primaries, and we saw how bloody the NRM primaries were. And each time there is an NRM,
Even in Kisoro?
no.
This time not.
The others, yeah.
With the
Bloody, literally,
was
at
calm.
Kisoro, bloody, not figuratively, I can say. Competitive, so to
Right.
say.
in
Like
some parts in the
that
country,
stiff,
the NRM primary is the election.
yes. That stiff competition in Kisoro is always a precursor to what we expect in the general elections. What we saw in Kisoro, however, maybe Honorable Wanyoto can agree with me that they got to realize the gravity on the ground with which the independent candidate carried, maybe a little too late, and probably that's when they tried to play around with the face of it, coming with an independent candidate on the rally of the NRM. I don't know how it hoggered with the candidate of NRM. I don't know in real democracy whether I will feel good when you're coming with my opponent. I'm trying to actually say that I am weaker than the person you brought to ground. But yes, democracy is a game of numbers, and in most cases there are very many parts of this country that do not vote parties, that do not vote colors, but yet go for individuals,
especially in rural Uganda.
In rural Ugandan areas. I have seen, and during, for instance, the last election of 2021, I saw on some polling stations where the direct elected MP loses very terribly. The woman member of parliament loses very terribly, and if they were all NRM, you find that President Museveni has won with a very huge margin, and that has nothing to do with the party. And I feel it's the same that was in Kisoro, because the vote of Kisoro had so many emotions of just giving that that vote of this family has lost someone. That family has one of the most influential political person in Kisoro, and the party in which she subscribes has not given her the real mandate that she should get. So those emotions were a mixed bag of very many reactions and decisions made by the people of Kisoro. She is coming from that very political family. Being supported by that political family, NRM is not siding with her. The gravity and the numbers on ground are saying differently, and the people in and of themselves are saying differently. It turned out to be the way it was.
And it's a reflection, it's a mirror of everything that has happened in this country. And like I said, many parts of this country do not vote. General Boanyoto talked about the peace in Kisoro. I think as a person who
asked Semuju about it.
As a person who covered the 2021 election and 2016, when we were moving on the presidential trail, especially the most chaotic one of the Honorable Chagulanyi, it was very evident that there are parts of this country where the military did not release any bullet or any tear gas canister or any violence, and those places were especially in the west. The day we left Mbarara, we were supposed to cross to Mitiana when we were following that trail, and it was very evident. He had come from Kisoro, from Chiruhura, Kazo, those ends, and there was a lot of peace in terms of people came. They found he found the people who had gathered, went, spoke to them 2-3 minutes, went, left with his presidential trail, and they came back. The moment we crossed from west now tending to central Uganda, chaos ensued, and we had it in the public domain that it is not good manners to, cause chaos in some of those parts of the country. It's not something as journalists we took quite in-depth analysis on, but I feel we should. The Kisoro election has given another even evident
that you can have an election without confrontation, violence.
That you can have you can have an election without confrontation, but this cannot be just in one part of the country.
You see, Oscar,
why was there no violence in Kisoro?
Let me start in the US. In the US, throughout their campaign, they will tell you this election is going to be won in 8 swing states. That's where the contest is. The Republicans did not go to California. It has the largest number of electors, but they didn't go there.
They knew they were not going to win it.
Exactly. So these are elections are done the world over. The NRM is going to win in Kisoro, you like it or not. So they will be firing at who? Firing at themselves. But also we need to look at the civic competence. Oscar, I told my story here when I visited. Charles has worked at our home for the last 35 years, digging. We didn't know where he comes from. The man comes by bus. We said, and I'm the one who organized, let's go. It is bad manners. Go visit this guy in Bunagana at the border. We went as a family of Wajinganda. As soon as we arrived, I was cooking. Police shows up with 2 police patrols in Kisoro, and they're asking me, why did you come to visit without notifying us? Kisoro is not different from Karamoja. It supports NRM, that is without doubt, but they police it. You cannot do politics of any other group. The only time you can go to Kisoro is when you have a bad. I mean, if you can stop someone just visiting, those stupid police.
So already they knew that you had gone to.
Yes, I don't know how, because I slept in Kavari. But they found me in a banana plantation cooking pilau. Said, why are you here? They started confiscating phones from my sisters who are recording them. So that's how barricaded politically Kisoro is. That the only politics known there is NRM politics. And unfortunately for them, we don't say we have politicians who speak their language. In fact, majority of them listen to radio station of Rwanda. They listen to Rwanda more than including when Charles is at home in Rwanda. He continues listening to songs and everything from Rwanda, not Kinyarwanda. There's Kinyarwanda in Uganda, but from Rwanda. So it's an island. You see, there is no opposition politician who will go and win in Karamoja. In Karamoja, the contest is between NRM and independent. So the MPs from Karamoja who are independent are MPs who participated in NRM elections, because these areas are politically barricaded. I remember the first time I visited Karamoja, with a group of MPs, the first thing you do is to report to the RDC MPs. After reporting to RDC, you report to the DPC. Then they tell you, okay, you can move. They give you, so you move with them. So these areas are run like projects. So, but because of competition, even where you have no chance of winning, if you're a political party, you will have what we call, or what they call, dust candidates. The only reason is you want to go there and speak to Kisoro because you will never have any other opportunity to ever speak to them. So the absence of violence, it is because NRM is competing against itself, but also the voters in Kisoro are largely like voting machines. They are not emotionally involved in these campaigns as they go on. If you look at the videos of the candidates and agents distributing salt, I don't know whether it was during primary or after, openly.
That was also 2021. It wasn't in this.
Yeah, but for me, it doesn't matter.
There was one doing round yesterday.
For me, it doesn't matter whether it was
Those are all
2021.
fake.
Okay.
But
they were not very
the level of civic competence of the people in Kisoro is not comparable to any other area. Even when they support you, they are not emotional, with the exception of a few. They just support as routine. This one we like, this one we don't like. Here, where people support and they are the ones driving a campaign, when you cheat, it's like you've cheated them. That's why you have to shoot and kill them and arrest them, because they don't look at this thing as a thing of the candidate. It is our thing. When you arrest Kyagulanyi Neruwuka, before you bring him to wherever, Kampala will erupt, because they are the ones who are competing directly against you, Mr. Museveni.
Okay.
So you can understand the context of Kisoro and why things happen the way they are. And for a very long time, they will happen. But even in a normal campaign day, Oscar, there are areas where you have no support. In the last election in Ichira, I won with 45,000 votes, followed by Nopo at 18. The NRM candidate got 4,000. The state, because NRM is a state party, like UPC was in many respects, even where they shouldn't exist, the state exists. The RDC will be there, the deputy RDC, the police, everybody. So they do if they do that work in Kampala, I've told you I was in a terrorist center in Wakiso, and the declaration forms of Honorable my friend Rosemary Seninde are being collected by RDCs and district internal security officers. I was with his personal assistant and he was calling Chengera, call Diso, where is the DR form from Chengera? So we can pretend here that the election is in Uganda. Even in Kampala, NRM candidates are state candidates. They receive state support. The state institutions, the same thing that happened under Ocheno's government.
No.
So in Kisoro, no any other party can operate there.
Let's go to Otieno.
So the only moderating effect there is that you have within NRM, you have different shades of opinion. You have Muzei Mateke,
Yes.
who was with Ocheno in UPC when ministers. Actually, I told Ocheno when we were entering here that during the UPC time, ministers were ministers. And that's why Mateke is still adored there. Because you see, if a UPC, we used to sing for them. When they visit our schools, you spend the whole week preparing to receive a UPC minister. Because that minister was a minister. If he gives you a school, but even books today, pens are being given by Museveni. That's why I think his wife wanted to distribute sanitary pads directly. So smaller things now are done by one man and his family. So that's why ministers are useless. But Mateke of the UPC, because of the way the ministers were powerful, he still...
Let's go to Joseph Otieno. Joseph, the big question is, and this has been affected, UPC has been affected by this. The NRM, don't they have ability to sit down opposing factions and say, let's come to an agreement? Why run a campaign with an independent and a flag bearer, and they are both from the same party, and the president has an ear for the independent? Remember, this started all with your UPC. I don't know, these days you have three factions of UPC where you never get to meet, you never agree. So you particularly will not be able to blame NRM for failure to sit down together.
Oscar, can I give you information? Just 1 second. Honorable Semju has explained the influences of these communities, but what's also unique about them that these are communities that are on international borders. So they're a bit different. like Karamoja, Kisoro, they are on international borders. But what's important, what's so dominant, also still that is so influential in these communities are the religious institutions. When you go, of course, when you go to Karamoja, you'll still find the strength of the Catholic Church and also the Protestant Church. Why? Because they are the ones actually that have had the enduring services for the community, education, health centers. They are mainly those faith-based foundations. The same with Chisoro.
Yeah, but
So
also
I'm telling you, you're talking about NRM, you're talking about the government, but there's this big animal, the elephant in the room. The biggest and enduring influence in these communities are those religious institutions that have been able to deliver the community most needed services like health, like schools, and also faith. I wanted you to understand that elephant that is
Yes,
beyond the political divide.
So, Seven,
Only the bishop or the catechist or whatever it is orders. That silence you saw. People will not ask questions. From the garden said, what have I been told? They go
okay. Thank
and
you for
vote.
information.
It's
I want
yeah.
to squeeze in Joseph before we
Religion.
finish this topic.
Religion is a very big factor.
You know, Oscar was with you yesterday at an event. It was a delight seeing you. I must put for the record that um, one of the chief guests was a former gangster called Norbert Mao. I must say that I was suitably impressed by your ability to manage, particularly sometimes a sophisticated crowd, and sometimes one that would easily sometimes go to the other side. And you understand what I'm saying. I think this debate, particularly when Lydia provides me with the information on religion, while I actually agree, and it was very central in Kisoro, and while interestingly, actually, it is a bigger spread in the whole of Kigezi sub-region than I actually possibly thought way back to my little mini Tororo. When it comes to the question of services, it's the case because it's a manifestation of failure of the state. While for us, we went to these religious schools, up to the time, Ibrahim, that an average Ocheno could go to Chibuli Secondary School, an Islamic school, but you would not know, and it would not matter whether or not you're a Catholic or a Protestant. But of course, the faith is that. I went to Miri, a Protestant father school. So that's an indictment on NRA that after 40 years, you fail to do what you're supposed to do as a government. It's not surprising that the population will stick to the local faith communities as it were.
A long time ago, I guess a good friend of mine was standing against Honorable Biandala and he lost. But they gave me in rural areas. They gave Biandala won it, beat him hands down. But he gave me 2 minutes to speak, and I said to people, "You know, there's no electricity here. There's no water." They quickly took the microphone away from me. Said, they said, "You can't make these promises."
Ibrahim made
right.
Ibrahim made huge efforts to tarnish the image of UPC that left government 45 years ago, and we left this government and we said, okay, you guys also try. After in a way, you're right. You're right to that extent. So we left, meaning we were removed by
question.
We were removed unconstitutionally, but
You were removed. But the question to you was, don't you get candidates to meet and speak to each other in an idealist, because you can't refer to UPC since you failed to meet?
That is why I was
in an ideal would candidates meet?
That's why
Kenya was in Kisoro.
And he went to.
This guy is really celebrating when UPC is not able to speak. By the way, I really hope that we're able to address the question of independence, in future politics of this country. In most stable democracies, you really don't get this business of independence. Anyway, Abraham talks about it, that maybe it's going to take us a bit longer time. How did we come here? We came here because of the killing of political parties by NRA, and then the creation of this personal merit polity, where it's about me, myself, and I. And Museveni started it very perfectly in 1980, that we either win or sort of they lose. You lose an election and you don't want to concede that you lost. You lose an election and you're not willing to say, let me wait for the next time. Museveni loses, instead of going to court in Barara, he goes to court in Luwero, and of course we know the outcome. Part of what is now happening is basically I am either right or they're basically wrong. Granted, actually, what happens in Kisoro is a manifestation again of the mess in NRA where it's about a matter of life and death. So when somebody feels aggrieved, and in this case they go ahead and run as independents, as sort of quote, they win. There is a reasonable case to be made. But of course, talking about the UPC case, we really do not have we've not had the climate, the environment in which maybe in this case, particular three parties would sit and have a conversation. But that's slightly much more real. In any case, people are suggesting that the mess in UPC, part of which has been pushed by NRA, is UPC is a victim of 40 years of NRA dictatorship, where people don't know how to win, people don't know how to lose.
The victim
You
was the
basically,
partner.
you basically,
What's
sorry,
the difference?
sorry, good.
UPC and RM, are they partners or they're
Yeah.
No, the individuals in UPC who are partners with you guys and they're enjoying it very fantastically for themselves. But as a party, we don't have any formal relationship with the NRA. And of course, we are the party of constitutionalism. And many of us reject the idea that you can go ahead and strike deals on the basis of self interest when the vast majority of Ugandans continue to wallow in poverty. By the way, Oscar, if you look at the pictures that come from Kisoro, you will actually see real poverty, possibly not as much as what you'll see in the pictures that come from parts of Amuria, parts of Karamoja, and even parts of Bunyoro. I've been to some of these other spaces. But it actually tells you that the underlying thing is that people are so desperately poor that they will go for anything in order for them to basically just generally survive. But I think we need to be able to resolve this question of independence. In democracies, as I said, independence don't exist. But do you know why they exist here? It's about personal merit. When we restore multipartism and people then begin to campaign for the issues, all politics of issues, what is delivered on their table, and what political parties with institutions and systems that work where people can able to go ahead and trust. There's no reason why after an election you don't concede that you've lost because you genuinely lost.
Okay, let's stop for a break. We'll come back from the break. This is the Capital Gang. We've been discussing Kisoro election. Lydia, I'll give you a chance to conclude on it, particularly on the Electoral Commission and what it is, the NRM Electoral Commission, and what it can do about these independents, about not having two candidates in an election.
No, that's not the work of the Electoral Commission. That's the work of the party at our level. But
It's a work
it is more political than legal.
Yeah.
I think we need to do better mobilization of cadres, but also ensure that the primaries are more tight and believable. But Oscar, I wanted to let people know that in a case where you have two very competing candidates, like the case was with the Rose. I mean, remember the primary? Did you see the result of the primaries? The difference was hardly 700 votes. That's very difficult.
It was very tight.
It was very tight. So we should not wish away, because you are used to presidential competition or other where candidates are not very competitive. But this was
Makes
a
sense.
very competitive election. But let me conclude, let me finish. There are things I want to persuade the same Jews to think with me. I've been to all the by-elections of this term. I think we should do away with by-elections, because other countries, just listen to me. When you have a general election, people have expressed interest. Okay, you still have the individual mate, but people have already expressed interest of a leader. So when this leader does not finish their term, whatever the reason, they've got a job, they've died, they've resigned, subjecting people to another election. Why don't we say we have general elections? Feeling, even now, by the end, they are still feeling council. There were slots of council elections in Kisoro. There are still local government elections going on there. But my idea, I think we should ban by elections. And when there's a seat falling vacant, either the sitting person, if he's a member, if he belongs to a political party, let the political party replace that person, so that we have strengthen to conclude the term, to finish the term.
1 minute.
For the community, we must find a mechanism of replacing other than.
That's a big discussion.
Yeah, but I think it is high time we had
conclusion on the topic.
But finally, I think that it was a good election, but we should be mindful that we always have problems when you have competing candidates, like the case was in Kisoro.
I just want to say that I was delighted that UPC was represented, and the UPC candidate did reasonably well. 300 plus votes, under 400 votes compared to the two other people from there.
Eternally optimistic.
Yes, and it shows that actually once we're able to be settled, and once we're able to resolve our leadership questions, and once we're able to traverse this country, that we're able to come back and compete with everywhere else. And of course, it's a necessary thing, Lydia, that when NRM is able to be faced on issues, be able to square up and make sure that we reorganize this republic for younger guys like the P5 guy who's just joined the studios.
Political parties in Kisoro did not play big role, because we all converged at Mzee Mateke's. The NRMs, the UPCs were all at Mzee Mateke's home. So
he was a fantastic minister of state for education and the UPC administration, and we provided secondary school in every sub-country across the republic.
We all
you also need to understand, particularly within NRM, because they are a state party, people who lose elections in NRM,
we are political
competitive elections, are always, of course, they have now rationalized, but majority of board members on these agencies were people who lost NRM primaries.
Yeah.
In the last election, all my colleagues who lost the election, Museveni met them in Entebbe. And he said, remember, you can leave it, but the other one, where the Nyombis were involved, he was asking them, those who wanted to be placed somewhere so that they don't compete against NRM primary. He grouped them. Then those who said will contest whether. So there is an extra motivation once you belong to a state party. People become RDCs because they have offered themselves, and there will be meetings, ambassador. So an NRM person
to move
in a competitive election, except one like the one that is sure will win. Others don't go there because they will win. They go there because the conversation is not to reconcile. I also want a job. I also want this.
a conversation before the end of the year and how we can have independence and no elections and people who've lost jobs. But anyway, this week there was yet another accident, and they provided the information for me. As a journalist, 6 people died on the Jinja Iganga highway, died on the spot. Yet another accident. We have Chigogwa, not discussed here. A lot of people died. We have head of motor vehicle inspection, engineer Karim Chibuka, in the studio. You're most welcome.
Thank you, Oscar, and the gang team.
Yes.
My
What do you
pleasure to
do,
be here.
engineer Karim Chibuka?
Like my title explains, I head motor vehicle inspection, particularly looking at the safety of vehicles inspection and also inspection of driving schools for compliance with certain requirements. Very soon now we are entering into inspection of garages, again for compliance with the certain requirements.
You just be a
because-
little bit louder so that
for compliance with the certain requirements, because you cannot talk of safer vehicles when you're not addressing the problem at source. Or those people who are repairing the vehicles will also have to bring them on board to be compliant with the laws and the regulations which govern them to ensure that the vehicles are safe. And also involved in a number of critical projects which government is implementing, including, among others, the Intelligent Transport Monitoring System, ITMS project. Yes.
And we had that big tragedy in Chigogwa,
Yes.
but that was kind of outside your area. It is people who went to siphon off fuel that ended up getting killed.
Yeah, outside, yes, you're right, Oscar, slightly outside our area of jurisdiction, but it still concerns us because ultimately it begins with the road crash. Okay, and then the road crash translates into other actions, including the catching of fire or overturning of the vehicle, catching of fire, and then people losing their lives thereafter. So it concerns us because where it starts from is a traffic crash. Yes.
Was it a crash or just
Yeah,
it was a crash?
It was a crash.
Okay.
So
And the crash, was it to do with poor vehicle maintenance, or is as it's sometimes it's an accident?
yeah, sometimes it's an accident. Yes, you're right, because we differentiate between the crashes and accidents.
Crashes of negligence and
Yes,
accidents.
crashes, of course, you can avoid if it is a crash, but if it is an accident, it means it's unavoidable.
Yeah.
So in this particular case, because the vehicle usually when the vehicle gets an accident like that, we do a retrospective investigation by inspecting the vehicle to ascertain what could be the cause of the accident. Okay, but in this particular case, it was a unique one that after the accident or the road crash, the vehicle got burnt completely. But nonetheless, we get the opportunity to assess the area where there were any attempt by the driver to brake. We're looking at signs on the road like skid marks, but they were not available, and indicating that maybe because from the people who were around the first responders, they said they had the vehicle coming hooting, indicating that probably there would have been a brake failure. And the failure for us to locate the skid marks directly puts this into the picture.
Yeah.
Okay, that probably the
because if it had been struggling, there'd have been skid
the
marks.
skid marks would have been there, but we didn't see any signs of skid marks on the road, implying that there was an element of mechanical failure, to be specific, brake failure, and also element of overspeeding.
Yeah.
Okay, because even if brakes fail and you are driving at the speed which you can easily manage to stop or to veer off the road, then that one is manageable.
Then I see many cars, abandoned cars at police stations. Have all these inspected or just abandoned accident cars?
Yes, you're using the right word. Sometimes they are abandoned. Sometimes they're just waiting for justice to be delivered. Because when a vehicle gets involved in a road crash or in an accident, of course, investigations take place. That's the mandate of Uganda Police. For us, we inspect vehicles as Minister of Works and Transport to ensure that they are in good condition to be on the road, and we license them. Then, when the vehicle gets involved in a road crash, of course, the mandate of Uganda Police is to take over and investigate as to why this vehicle was involved in the accident, what was the cause. But of course, they do that in collaboration with us, although that is directly their first mandate.
But
So,
Engineer Kibuka,
yes.
where does this inspection take place? Because you've closed down inspection places. There's the other company that had been forced on us that failed. I see they're trying to sell off their premises. So where does inspection take place?
I beg your pardon, Oscar. Did you say forced on you?
Yes. Yeah.
That's interesting.
And that's why it failed.
Honorable Semuji is also stamping your assertion. Yes. Yeah, but I'll give clarification on that. Of course, in an effort to improve road safety, because we improve road safety in a number of areas, vehicle condition, sensitization of the public, condition of the roads, intervened by an investigation which commenced around 2017. Government had entered a contract with the SGS in 2015. They had set up vehicle inspection stations that time to commence vehicle inspections.
It died.
It didn't die.
Where does it work from?
Sorry?
Where does it work from?
No, I'm bringing to you the background as to why it was maybe it died or why you're not able
So
to
where
say what
does
you say.
inspection take place?
So there are vehicle inspection centers which we have. Of course, following the failure of that program to take off because of the challenges, government through a cabinet decision opted to compensate SGS for their investment and government take over the facilities. And so far, we have paid them 30% of the investment, which was audited by the Auditor General, and we are remaining with the 70% of the investment. And thereafter, government is going to take. In fact, we are in advanced stages of taking over these facilities. If I can bring you to speed, we are targeting either early December for the next week, the second week of December, when we take over those facilities as government of Uganda, and we start operationalizing them for motor vehicle inspection starting in the next year. But that will not happen.
I'll tell you about the one in Kisoro off air when we finish the program.
Yeah, that will not happen until when we have sensitized the general public and understand why government it is important for the vehicles to be
within
inspected.
your docket, Engineer Chibuka, you also have road safety.
Yes.
And you have come to the studio with a young man who knows about road safety.
I don't want to say talk for him.
Yes, you could. So here we go. First, say your name and what do you do for a living? Where do you work? What do you do?
My name is Imran Chibuka. I study from Hillside Primary School.
In what class?
I am in P5. I first want to introduce myself. I want to thank everybody for giving me the opportunity to be here.
Wait, just go quickly to the question. Don't waste your minutes. What do you understand by road safety?
I understand that road safety is when you be safe on the road. The way is how we can prevent accidents like the one on. I hear that 6 people died in accidents, or was it a crash? Some people drink alcohol while they're driving. Others overspeed, while others just cross the road carelessly. Others can have others can have their cars broke when they are
not in good mechanical condition.
Yes, and then they can still they still use them, and then by the time they want to fix them, they are already damaged, and they use them in transportation of people, which is not good. It is not good to overspeed on the road. because it can also lead to accidents. The main cause of overspeeding is over delaying in time. It is caused by not planning the time you are going to reach.
So, so just a quick last question from me. Even at my school, I work at a school, and we've been doing road etiquette and safety. And one of the recommendations we make is young children like you not to sit in the front seat. There's an international standard which is 11 years. I hope you don't sit in the front seat.
I do not. I sit in the back, but my father encourages me to wear my seatbelt.
Yeah, okay. So thank you very much for your submission. We've recorded you on the Capital Gang. Thank you. So continue with preaching on road safety.
I wanted to encourage people to always wear their seatbelts, to also always follow the highway code.
Wow.
I also
Wear a helmet if you're in a border.
Yes, I also encourage people that if they're going to take alcohol, let them at least go with somebody who is licensed in driving. So because if they get drunk, there's somebody who can take them back home safely.
Okay. Thank you very much for that submission. You can just grab a seat here now. I think one day I'm going to give you a job as a teacher. And you teach these things properly. So, Honorable Semujo, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yes. Bravo. So all parents should do that. Teach road etiquette, road safety. You had a question for Engineer Chivuka. And I hope the Imran has not softened you on the questions you want to ask.
No, his submission contained something that was very interesting. Not planning, and you did it. So I was telling Lydia the reason they are here for 40 years. It's lack of plan,
Not planning your journey and then you're overspeeding.
Yeah. So that's the lesson. You see, the about planning, my because
UPC.
have only been inspected when I am involved in an accident, and it doesn't matter whether minor or not. That's the only time I have been referred by police to Naguru. So inspection of vehicles is a good thing. But in Uganda, like many other things, enforcement usually is a problem. This company is talking about how it came. It just fell from heaven. The same way Museveni was giving his MUCO, actually he gave his MUCO, the Uganda Printing and Publishing Corporation, this German Museveni's MUCO. And then he was giving him a tender of over 200 billion supply ballots in the last election. So where he came, the only relationship with Uganda is that he's a MUCO, he marries Kajubiri Museveni's sister. So this particular company and why you are here.
Joseph, you can see why Salim Saleh will write another note. Today we are discussing.
Well, Oscar, if you don't want to be talked about, you live public life. Do business. Nobody's going to talk about you. So this is
Private citizen, isn't it?
who? That
Museveni's brother.
No.
No, he's not. He's a presidential advisor.
But
the public
road
office.
safety is the topic, Joseph.
So this particular, I've told you the trouble is that our vehicles are never inspected. The government vehicles they always go to Ministry of Works for inspection, even when they are fixing something small. I think that's the only inspection that is routine, is regular. The vehicles, our own vehicles, I said, except if you have an accident. But the company that government had procured for inspection, and they set up centers, including one in Namanve, near or in my constituency, they controversially came in. And many NRM projects, you will have one group that is trafficking a particular interest. One day, another group that is not benefiting, they will begin fighting, and sometimes we benefit from that fight because that's when the information comes. So when we are passing a resolution in Parliament to stop implementation because they had made it compulsory, you go and pay. Remember the charges were they 12,000, and because you want to stay on the road, so you go and pay, but also bribe. So you pay twice. Even a vehicle that was okay, sometimes they would pass it as not in good mechanical condition.
But do you think it was a good idea to stop that company?
No. See, the trouble, that particular contract had trouble. That's why even the compensation itself, as he says, the Auditor General said, please wait a minute, there are problems. Because you see, they have done these things before, Oscar. I don't want to discuss them because they will take a lot of our time. You give Wasaja Walaba markets in Kampala, then you remove them, and then you give him 165 billion shilling. So there's usually a problem with awarding contracts and compensating people. But I want to focus on the inspection itself. It's a good idea for government to roll out inspection, and I hope that there will be enforcement mechanism to get vehicles that are not roadworthy parked somewhere. I disagree, by the way, with the police. I have had a conversation with them each time I am taken, either arrested, and there are many vehicles, borders at police stations. Because you see, the economy will lose because a lot of money has been spent on the procurement of those vehicles. One time I was at Chireka, what used to be Wembley, and I asked them, why have you guys parked here tens of vehicles and they are rotting? You see, that rot affects the economy. And they told me some of them, the cases hadn't been resolved. Because ordinarily, Oscar, once a vehicle is involved in an accident, what should follow is that vehicle to be taken to a police inspection, because the vehicle commits no crime. And then a report is done and you release the vehicle immediately, except
Instead
vehicles
of piling them up.
Yeah, but for them,
But
I
it's
don't
a
know.
question of justice, as he has said. Sometimes people are suing and so on.
No. There are vehicles and motorcycles that are at a police station because they are exhibits. But even exhibits of that nature can be processed and then they are out of police station. But a bulk of these vehicles and pickies that are at police stations, they are not the one that are either exhibits or there is they are accidents. But police and the government, and I don't want to blame, because I don't know at what stage he gets involved in this, is that they are used to it, that you just park and then they ask you sometimes.
That's very serious food for thought for the
Yeah.
police, actually. Yeah.
So the economy loses all that amount of money when these
And space at a police station.
yes
Yeah.
begin rotting away.
Okay. They wanted to ask a question.
Not ask me.
No, not you. I wanted to ask Engineer Chibuka. The cause of the accident along Jinja Highway was because of
The one of this week.
Yes, the one of this week that claimed 6 was mainly because of these trucks that carry sugar cane and stuff. I wonder whether there's any kind of inspection that ever happens to those vehicles. And there are so many around Jinja because of Kakira and
Lugazi.
Iganga, Lugazi. And you know, you're driving.
We lost an MP,
Up to Magamaga.
an MP there, and at
Yes.
the time, the Honorable Rebecca Kadaga was motivated to go and arrest them. Sometimes they move at night, no lights.
Yeah.
You get, they don't have lights. They reach a hill and they just
very
stop
weak
moving and they begin moving backwards. And I keep wondering, what's their place in our society? Why are they on the road in the first place under that kind of condition? They have caused numerous accidents, but you still will find them. In the middle of the night, you'll find a lorry has broken down in the middle of the road. There is no signage whatsoever that there is a broken down vehicle. You just have to be very careful when you're driving on that road, and it's because it's what caused that accident. I want to know whether these vehicles, especially company vehicles around that area, because there are so many industries around that area. I wonder whether there is an intent
to fix that.
to fix that.
It's interesting. On this show, we have 3 panelists who use that road to go home. Producer Patricia also uses the same road to go home. So we should have personal invective and personal annoyance about that road. But Engineer Chibuka, the question to him is, that road is dark. While a few years ago I was helping out at a school in Jinja, and I'd have to wait until 10 p.m. to drive back to Kampala when it was properly dark. Because if you leave at 7:30 and it is not yet properly dark, you are at risk, especially against those lorries, because you just come up on them. But at 10 p.m. and you have good lights, you'll see them. But as young Imran was saying, that's late. So can you agitate for lights as well?
That is true, and obviously he'll possibly do the final submission. Oscar, this is a very, very important matter for me. I have a personal experience, as you know. I lost a close family member. In fact, one of the biggest national tragedies, losing up to 4 members of one family on a road in Uganda, including somebody very close to me. And that is something which is very traumatic. But fast forward, Engineer Chibuka, I was with the Commissioner for Road Safety not so long ago, and with also Alan Kajina, outgoing, unfortunately, excellent lady, head of UNRWA. As a result of an accident I got on Nagonga Road, ironically, Oscar, I don't know whether I told you, I actually ramped on Maram that had been put on the road, and I'm one of those advocates for this. And the reason was
People walking on the road and they leave their material on the road.
and yes, and no signage put on there. It's a matter that I'm still going to continue to proceed with it, and it was it was a narrow one for me because of reasonable speed that on which I was. It could really have gotten worse. So some of these are things that can be avoided. But on one engineer, the issue is basically the state of the roads. One of them, quite clearly, potholes that people are not talking about, road signage and lights on the road. But also on the other, the fact that many of these roads, as already been said, are not roads worthy. Many of the drivers I don't know, including this morning, I was busy hooting to someone not far from the studios. You don't know where these guys get licenses to drive these very big vehicles. And so sometimes when you find the police guys trying to seek to enforce, basically doing either routine or some people say they can change for their evenings.
Just pause there for a second,
yeah.
and we'll have a short break.
Sorry.
Welcome back from the break. This is the Capital Gang. We're looking at road safety. How do we prevent preventable deaths on the road? Joseph, you were concluding.
Yeah, just quickly, that I really hope that we take this as push more far and farther. That we make sure that drivers, people who are on the wheels, are people who are licensed, sufficiently trained. And in many cases, perhaps I wonder whether in future we might also be thinking about retraining drivers drivers or perhaps all the sport, making sure that many of the people who ride these vehicles have got the capacity to basically drive the vehicles in question. The mechanical condition things have already been spoken about. Speed is a big thing, and the young man is fantastically talking about not only speed, but this thing, business about drink driving. And finally, this seat belt thing, we need to emphasize it. I've had friends who join me in my car, and when I insist that they should be putting on seat belt, there's even this temptation to say that, oh, we're just going next door, or we're going slowly. No, these are things that are compulsory and need to be forced. But finally, on this one, young children in front seats of vehicles, extraordinary. It should really be. Is it against the law?
Yeah.
It's against the law here too, because it is elsewhere. They should not be there. But amazing,
Universal standard should be 11 years old.
And there's some very posh parents in Kampala who don't do Make a Wish. They do these very posh cars, and they're very, very organized, decent people. And you find them with 3 kids in front seats, and they're rolling in vehicles. I have had my mini interventions from time to time with people. And of course, some people say, "What is it? It's not my business." No, the implications are actually huge. But finally, of course, these things are happening because this regime has broken alternative transportation in terms of rail networks. Many of these trucks, going back to our Iganga, we tell people continuously, many of these trucks should not be on the road if our rail network was okay, let alone the fact that the road is not in a bad condition. But finally, Oscar said, this Mabira business, this darkness down the road, away from these trucks, who are the people who are planning this? Now that Semuju has just gone off to try and sort out one of the roads we've been shouting about for the last several years, we hope that there's a realization that there's much more investment on road transportation. And then when these guys build the new roads as part of infrastructure, they take considerations for both the size, the lightings, and also making sure that these road humps, including some of these police guys, policeman thing, Obana engineer, some of those things really, you're breaking our wishes, rather than trying to check speed.
Let's go to
These engineers who actually work on these roads are coming from. You're breaking our system so that you don't know that you're breaking on our dollars, which dollars we have to go ahead and again import the parts.
Thank you, Oscar.
Yes, Lydia, let me put to you, there's a lot, we have a lot more traffic officers on the road today, but still accidents happen. What's causing this?
The whole story about vehicles, and I wanted to welcome Engineer Chibuka, but to just say that it's not enough to be here as the head of vehicle inspection, because the issues of vehicles cannot stand alone.
I invited him.
When you talk about, I'm just trying to give the story. Yeah. Vehicles inspection must work with government procedures about the database on vehicles, government vehicles, but also permits. So for us in the public, we are very impressed by the agency that is now issuing permits. They are very fast. You cannot, it's automated, people there are professional, but you might have somebody who is professional by issues of permits, but then the vehicles on the road are DMCs, because nobody is doing the enforcement to make sure that the roads on the roads, the vehicles on the roads are in good working conditions. So, and then there are the issues of importation of vehicles. So it's a bigger thing than you can be a small department inspecting vehicles, but you must work with means of, now you heard people talking about police, but you're not from internal affairs, but you cannot work alone. Your delivery must work with the police enforcement, must work with the permit inspection, people who issue permits, driving schools, who is licensing driving schools, are they effective? It's a whole big infrastructure. I also would like to understand who manages motor gates of government vehicles, because if you
police escorts.
Not just escorts, just the motorcade of vehicles. And I'm talking about issues of also disposable. Exactly. Because if you're in charge of vehicles, what about those that are being imported? Those that are, when they asked the minister,
when they asked, I want to check your cars.
One time, this is not just about inspection. I'm talking about the whole story. For Chibuka to be effective, there are many other departments that must be feeding into what he does for us to have a good story about roads, safety, and inspection. That's what I'm trying to say. And I'll give you an example. I think someone gave an example of there's so many roads, vehicles, both private and government, that are lying at polling stations because
Semuju.
occasioned by accidents. Police station yards, they sleep in them, they hang clothes on them, there are plants growing on them. They've been there for years. That's already a health hazard, an environmental hazard,
Yeah.
but also does not make our police stations look neat. There must be some
They're already in a bad state anyway.
for your department. But what are these vehicles 10, 20 years, even
Yeah,
border
yeah, yeah.
doing at police stations? Whether it's
Oh.
a court case, whether it's I am very pained
Or
of
Ministry of Health. You should, if you go back
Yeah, that's true.
yes.
Actually,
into
yes.
Malaga, you
Yes.
see.
Now, those have to be reviewed. Yes, yes.
There must be a whole story about who is disposing of old vehicles, whether they are old or they've had accidents, so that they're not parked somewhere. They are environmentally hazardous, but also they don't speak a good story about how vehicles are managed in Uganda, those both on road and off road. How are they disposed of? And finally, Oscar, there's a whole story of CCTV cameras along the roads for security, but also for speeding and roads. You know that we have not closed the morning, Honorable Simon Alipel. Why? When he got an accident in the night along Tirigi Road, Iganga, there are no CCTV cameras on that highway. The police system did not capture any vehicle. We said, you go back and track vehicles which were moving because it died around midnight and 1, from 10 to 2 a.m. They don't have that information. So Ugandans are vulnerable. So yes, you can do maintenance on inspection, but there's a whole story of tracking which roads are entering, which cars are entering Uganda, which ones are leaving Uganda, which ones are doing havoc, which ones are being used for crime, which ones are causing accidents and run away. They hit and run vehicles. How do you track them? So this
Do we have cameras outside Kampala?
we thought so because when I went, I actually was so emotional. I drove to Iganga to track how Honorable Simon Alipe died. I began from in Iganga town. There's some big structure which looks like a camera. When I got people to climb and check, the bulbs are not there. The wiring it died. So there's even no maintenance of CCTV camera. So that one is a dead one. It's in Iganga town. It's dead. Now when you branch off on Tirinyi Road, there's no CCTV cameras between Tirinyi Road at the branch of in Iganga. The next CCTV camera is at the Destro Park in Imbali. It cannot stretch beyond 3-4 kilometers. So so your work will be so much impacted by all these things we are talking about, including CCTV cameras. So, yeah, while you do inspection and maybe the bonds, the bonds, you talked about Ministry of Health, it looks like a carbon, but these carbons, because the story is bigger than your work, is how vehicles get to Uganda, how they are used, and how they are disposed. When you got some of these big people's homes, these big people, officials, including yourself at the level of a commissioner, you are entitled to a vehicle. Now, you do not hand over the old vehicle. Most of you, they're indiscipline in government. You find 4 or 5 vehicles backed in somebody's backyard, but now he has another new vehicle. So the tracking of vehicles, that is about the government burning up of vehicles. You go to people's homes who are big like you. So many old vehicles in your compounds. What are the vehicles doing in your compounds?
Okay.
So inspection is bigger than checking a vehicle which is roadworthy. I think inspection should be expanded in terms of law and maybe regulation so that it makes sense in Uganda. There is some problem there.
And we'll commit to lobbying.
Now, you don't have to answer for CCTV cameras and the police because that's your work. But my story is, you not deliver if all these other departments do not work in unison with what you're doing.
So, Engineer Chibuka, you've been taking copious notes.
Oh yes, thank you, Oscar, and I'm really glad that the gang is raising a host of concerns regarding road safety. It's also very unfortunate that my honorable Member of Parliament, Honorable Semuju, has stepped out because he's
listening.
He's listening.
Mm-hmm.
But he raised a number of issues which are not true, that the company SGS, which we gave the contract to inspect vehicles on behalf of government was just fell from the sky. There was a competitive bidding. I'll try to be faster because the number of issues are. There was a competitive bidding. Companies bidded, and SGS emerged the best evaluated bidder, and that's why they got the contract. So it's not just it is not that it was just handpicked. So that is not correct. He also raised the issue of Auditor General putting a stop on the compensation of SGS. That is also not correct because the Auditor General, I'm on record, of course, to say this on air. Auditor General verified the investment which was made by SGS and confirmed that they should be compensated. And we are working along with that figure to compensate SGS. So there is no contestation on the investment by SGS as to whether Auditor General put a stop on their compensation. Vehicles which are parked, I think these are the cross-cutting issues, parked at police stations for long. Of course, as you know, when a vehicle gets involved in an accident, I told you, investigations take place. And these vehicles act as exhibits in courts, and they cannot release them before the case is disposed of. But one important point which I pick is the compilation of these vehicles at the police station, because they don't look good. You look at make a place disorganized and untidy.
I'm sure something is not working.
Yeah, but the good. I think we'll discuss. We engage with our colleagues, the police. Maybe we can get a dedicated area or facility where we can keep all these accident vehicles until when the offences in which they were involved are disposed of, instead of parking them at police station is to keep rotting from there. That one, we'll have more discussion and engagement with our colleagues in the Uganda police. Cause of accident, highway. I think this was from Mr. Wandera. The one which led to perishing of 60 people, and the contentious issues about the trucks, the sugar trucks, which are parked in the middle of the road, when
sometimes moving without light.
Moving. Yeah, it has been a big problem now with these vehicles. But in the absence of a holistic system, which we are going to introduce for inspection of vehicles, we've been doing periodic inspections, like half year, 6 months. We organize and go to those areas which sugar cane planting areas, which where so many of those trucks are carrying sugar cane, and we do periodic inspection, like after 6 months. But that is not enough, because these vehicles keep breaking down day after day. So we need to improve there. I agree. But to avoid, you see, the problem when the vehicle breaks down, and this rhymes well with the safe system approach which we use the implementation of road safety these days, is even when the vehicle gets a problem on the road, there must be counter mechanisms to prevent other people to get involved in a road crash. So we have the regulation, the traffic and road safety reflectors regulation, which mandates all vehicle owners to put reflectors on vehicles.
We have like stipulated ones, how many you must put round?
Yeah, you have it depends on the category of vehicle, but now for those trucks, they have to put 2 chevron reflectors behind.
How many?
2.
Only 2.
2 behind. Okay. Yeah, it's
usually they put 3 leaves.
Yeah, but now that is a different one. We have now the triangle. These I'm talking about on the vehicle.
Okay.
Okay. Now, when the vehicle breaks down on the road, then you put the triangle reflectors on the road, but from a distance, not about some distance from the vehicle, to warn other road users that there is an accident or a breakdown in the road. So all those are embedded in the traffic and road safety reflectors regulations of 2012. So, and very often we enforce it. Only that when you're not constantly on the road, then a problem.
I'm going to start taking pictures of the ones who have used trees instead of those triangles and
I cannot blame those people who use trees, because it is a traditional approach, but it doesn't take away the regulatory requirement of using the reflectors, as long as it augments what it is intended. Because the objective is to warn oncoming drivers that there is a breakdown in the road. So these are traditional measures which have been used. They can also complement the regulations. But nonetheless, we've taken note and we'll continue doing our best to ensure that these vehicles, because they have been a problem, I agree, on the road for quite some time. Mr. Joseph raised the number of issues. You also took note that you were involved in an accident at one point, but luckily enough, you're not badly injured because you were driving at the speed which you were able to manage. And this is what we normally preach to the public, that you use or drive at speed which you can manage, such that in the case of any distraction on the road or anything, you are able to control the vehicle. But most of the times, our people speed beyond the speed which they can control, have control over.
Overspeeding.
Yeah, they are not also above the law. Of course, we take a note of that, but they are also above the law. And these are driven by people. These are human beings. I talked earlier about the holistic system which we use in management of road safety, the safe systems approach. Okay, it asserts that human beings.
Some more on that one. Safe
system approach. It is a holistic approach. Which now the world is using for management of road safety, and it is ensure that all road safety users are protected without getting them involved in any road crash that can end their life. So it is a zero requirement for getting any accident or road crash. Okay, so systems are developed in such a way that there is a countermeasure. Okay, if you're driving very fast on the road, okay, the road which you are driving on should have mechanism to prevent any impact of getting involved in maybe in serious injuries or losing your life. If you are in a vehicle, you are driving a vehicle, vehicle you are driving in, if the human or the driver makes a mistake, there must be systems which can counter the effects. Okay, yes. So also talks about in fact, I'll bring about what Honorable Lydia said, that it's only Minister of Works or Inspection which is dealing with the road safety here. I want to inform the gang that I'm not here only for inspection, motor vehicle inspection. I'm here to talk about road safety because I have cross-cutting issues and knowledge on road safety. So the safe systems approach we are talking about, it makes sure that all stakeholders that are involved in the road safety are brought on board. And in 2021, Ministry of Works and Transport launched a National Road Safety Action Plan, and it involves collaboration with all stakeholders to ensure that road safety in the country is improved. And we're working with all key stakeholders, including civil society organizations, Uganda Police, all key, like UNRWA, and the host of others, and the Ministry of Health, because when a crash occurs, there is an element of saving life. So we talk about post-crash care. So all those things are there. These issues are cross-cutting. The state of the road, yes, that one I cannot comment much. Of course, roads, it is work in progress. We are improving them, and maybe at one point, when we are able to have very good roads, safer roads, then we'll be able to also to achieve on that dimension of the safe systems approach. Drivers should be licensed. I think also Honorable Lydia mentioned about the training of drivers. Yes, we are doing, like in my introductory remarks, I told you, as one of my tasks or duties is to ensure that the driving schools are inspected, to ensure that they comply with certain requirements. And there is a list of licensed driving schools on the ministry website. We have a total of about 140 driving schools that are licensed to offer different categories of training for different categories of drivers. So the public, I urge them to check out this list on the ministry website so that they can know where to go to when they intend to undertake driving lessons. Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then lighting. We talked about lighting on those roads.
Lighting is part of the safer roads approach. Of course, it is the dream of Ministry of Works and ultimately the government to have lights installed on all our roads, but it's a limited resource envelope also doesn't allow. But like I told you, but now when you're driving towards cities or towns, these lights have been installed toward the city centers.
Yeah.
If you take a note, okay? There are town trading centers, city centers. If you are driving at night, these lights, street lights, are being installed. So this is going to keep on expanded until subject to availability of adequate resources, because you can't do the things all at once. But you see what is happening.
Okay.
Yes.
You know, we are ending with
Yes.
now final. What's your final message to road users?
My final message.
I should tell you, I have a message here to me by a gentleman in Kampala. Ronnie has said, the young man's message has touched me sharply more than all the safety talks I have ever had over the years. Thank you, Imran.
That is very good. Well,
So,
Honorable,
final message.
because of final
Right.
messages,
Yeah.
I appeal all road users to be very careful when using the road. If you know you are intoxicated, like Imran said, please don't get behind the steering. Plan your journeys very well. Ensure that you have a proper driving license before you go on the road. Otherwise, you'll be inconvenienced by traffic. And also, as government, what we are doing, because we are limited on resources, we are trying to leverage on technology to put in place which can enable us to monitor things remotely through automation.
Technology, a policeman should be able to check and see that you have a driving license without having to ask you for it.
Yeah, exactly. We are heading there, and this ITMS project which we are implementing, Honorable had talked about CCTV cameras. We are going to install CCTV cameras in almost all sections of the road to ensure that drivers are monitored in real time when they commit offenses.
Thank you. EALA was in town, Lydia. What's the bonus? You've been to EALA. So where's the bonus? EALA was in town. East African Legislative Assembly was in town. The other day, Parliament was in Gulu. So when they're in town, where's the benefit?
First of all, I would like to congratulate the EALA session in Kampala. I think they were here for more than 2 weeks. When they come to Uganda, the campaign about the EAS integration is to widen and deepen the East African community integration. But for me, you cannot sit in Arusha and say you're a member of parliament of the East African Legislative Assembly when you do not know at least the capitals to start with. Like how you cannot, it's not good for you to say you're a member of parliament of Uganda when you cannot go beyond the Mukono or Wakiso. You need to know the country so that you're a better leader in terms of legislation.
So it is a benefit for the EALA members themselves
for
to
the
learn
institution.
about Kampala. Yes.
For the institution to earn the name of East African Legislative Assembly, at least let the members get to know the capitals of the countries they represent, because they don't only speak for their country, they speak for the agenda of the treaty as established in 1999. That's one. Number two, when they come here, they are able to build strong networks, or if I don't know whether they were able to go outreach programs and meet civil society organizations, meet EAC institutions like the Flying School in Soroti, which is supposed to be a center of excellence, so that they also get to know the institutions in East Africa for which the legislature appointed, because they are East African community institutions in capital, in partner states. For example, the Lake Victoria Basin Commission is the side of Jinja. That's an institution of the community. The Civil Aviation Authority, there is the side in Entebbe. The Flying School is in Soroti. Those are the ones I can speak about in Uganda. Oh, the East African Bank, the Development Bank is here on Kampala Road, and also the Inter-University Council for East Africa is housed in Uganda. So even them to visit, they can come as a committee, they can come as an assembly, but I think that because maybe they have meager resources, they're not been able to move out aggressively and cause the different phases and cause the different phases of the East African community to bear fruit and also make sense to their people. Even the borders, I never saw them going to the border. They needed to go to the border where South Sudan touches Uganda.
What's the benefit of having EALA meeting in town? Lydia says two weeks.
Airtime should be given to me because I'm the one who understands this.
If a member of the East African Legislative Assembly does not know where Kampala or Nairobi is, then they should not really qualify to
But
represent
the institution
us.
has arranged for them to come and know. Is that a good thing?
To come and,
Well,
and engage.
Is it a good
So
thing?
no, I think it's waste of public resources. Really, just like I said, going to sit in Gulu before before you come to know that the people in Gulu need medical facilities. But Lydia Jane fairly makes a decent point that of course it's important that these guys travel around the country. But I was interviewed on this on a different network on these matters of these guys. I'm simply saying, Oscar, that how East African community leaders from 1967 to 77 could deliver such mega project within 10 years, and now 25 years on, there is no significant presence of anything that I can relate with the new East African community, either in Tororo, Mbale, or perhaps even here in the streets of Kampala, is extraordinary. It's a manifestation of leadership.
And know that EALA was in Uganda for 2 years.
And in fact, most people do not know. So I think resources should be going towards the citizens of East Africa,
a good thing
where they really need it.
EALA in town.
The best thing would be if they are coming to benchmark on a few things in Uganda or in all East African states.
Do we have things to benchmark for East Africa?
If they have to come and understand why, for instance, our crops are always some of our products, agricultural products, are always failing on the international market or even the East African market, to benchmark, especially on the integration, East African integration, but also on the non-tariff barriers. If they are coming to campaign for Ugandan milk and stuff like that, if those are the kind of conversations that are going to be in those boardrooms, go on. But then, according to what Lydia is giving us here, they are coming to have a tour around Uganda and just understand.
To enjoy Uganda. Engineer Karim Chibuka. Last word, not on East African community.
Last word is appreciation.
On safety.
Last word is appreciation, because road safety is the shared responsibility. And as Capital Ganga, you have made your share of this responsibility, and I applaud you for this. And I request that you continue with this kind of program so that the people can be informed about road safety generally. But also, allow me 1 minute.
Yes.
I know you're about to say this word. I've always been praying to come to this gang. When I listen to you closing the show, I usually the word, I shall see you next time. But in Israel, I don't think that is, we don't allow that.
Teach English.
Because you don't know they are going to be there tomorrow.
But you always add on inshallah. When I say I shall see you next time, it is not my mandate to say it, but Engineer Chibuka, I request that every time I say it, you say it for me, wherever you are.
All right.
So thank you so much, the listeners of Capital Gang. I hope you followed us on our social media platforms. We were streaming, on X and other platforms. We will continue to do that. We're in a partnership with AIDS campaign as Capital Radio with Rotary and other partners. We need that awareness. S4 examinations are done. Students have gone home. International exams are done. Students have gone on. S6 examinations are on. Star Cafe, thank you so much for powering the gang. I'm going to give some to Engineer Chibuka who missed out. I am Oscar Semoyam. I'm going to say it now and then you finish up for me. Let me switch on your microphone, Engineer Chibuka. I am Oscar Semoyam, okay? And I shall see you next week.
Inshallah.